We have actually done some of the pieces from these notes in the previous videos, but it's specifically over what we need to prove that the two triangles are congruent by one of our 5 methods. On these first 6 questions is a little bit of review as well as just identifying which congruent statement we can write or our reason of why the two triangles are congruent, and then we are going to practice writing a congruency statement based off of that. The second part then is figuring out the missing piece that we need to make sure that the two triangles are congruent by one of the 5 methods. On number 1, we can see that we have two sides that are congruent to each other and an angle between it. So these would be congruent by side, angles, side. So let's go through all the 6 first, then we'll go back and label each of them. On number 2, you can see that they have a missing piece in the middle, that will be the same. Since it is a right triangle, you always want to check to see could it be HL. In this case, yes it is. So this would be HL because we have a hypotenuse and we have the leg. I want you to do number 3 by yourself now. You should have noticed that all 3 sides will be congruent because we've got the side in the middle that are the same. So this would be side, side, side. On number 4, we have 2 sides and 1 angle, but the angle is not between the 2 angles like it needs to be. So this is none, because otherwise we'd have to write ASS, and that is a naughty word, and we are never going to write that on our paper, so this would be none, that these are not going to be congruent. And because we're writing none, we're not writing a congruent statement either. On number 5, we've got 2 angles and we have 1 S, but look where the side is located. It's not between the 2 angles. So if we have a choice of angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle, the side is not between the 2, so we have angle, angle, side. At number 6, we have 2 angles again and 1 side, but look where the side is located. It's between the 2 angles. So our 2 angles are here, the side has to be between the 2 congruent angles. Going back up to number 1 for the labeling, if you follow my arrows like I did before, if I start at C, go to A, and end up at B, we want to do the same order on our other triangle. So notice that start on the side with a 2, then hit the angle. So my side with a 2, hit the angle, and then the last side with 1. So that'd be QRS. So triangle QRS. On number 2, we went from G to D to N. So I did the outside piece and then end up at the right angle. So that would be GPN on the other side. On number 3, I did ATD. So I went to past the 1, then the 3. So I need to start at E, T, D as well. 4, remember we can't write that one because we wrote a none. On this one, I want you to fill out what the congruent statement should be based on our 2 triangles. The first one is ACB, and we need to go in the same order, so you should have put DFE. So triangle DFE. For the last one, BAC, you should have done EDF. So triangle EDF. If you remember from the previous videos, when we need to state the third congruence that must be given to prove that given triangles are congruent, we need to draw a picture if we do not have one. So that's what I would like you to do right now, is hit pause and draw all of our triangles for these last 4 questions and label the corners. On number 7, we want to draw the different pieces that are congruent in there, and then we need to figure out what is missing to make it so it is side, side, side. On the first one, we have AC is congruent to FH. Next, CB is congruent to HG. Now remember, for side, 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 we need 1 more side because we need 3 altogether. So the side that we are missing is AB, would have to be congruent to FG. So my piece right here would have to be congruent to my piece right here. Those are the 2 pieces that we need. On number 8, again, we want to put our measurements in our picture. So AC, or CA, is congruent to DO. Next, our angle T would be congruent to our angle G. And we need 2 angles and 1 side. But we have 1 of each so far, so we are missing 1 angle. Now on this one, there's actually two different answers because we could use angle A is congruent to angle O, and that would also work. Or if I say that angle C is congruent to angle D, that would also work. So on this one, there's really two different answers just because there's not any specific place that the angles need to be. That's an O, the other one is my D. I just noticed that they look very similar to each other. Sorry about that. Number 9, when we put our measurements in our picture, it says that angle O and angle R are right angles. Now, if you didn't draw your triangles correctly, kind of like mine, we just need to make sure that we know that those are right angles, or say that it's 90 degrees right there in the corner. So angle R is the same, so that's 90 degrees. That means that the side across from it, remember, is going to be our hypotenuse. So if we have BO is congruent to GR, that is a leg, not a hypotenuse, but I need one of each. So I am missing the hypotenuse. And I can see that I'm missing my hypotenuse because I need a hypotenuse and a leg for HL. So the hypotenuse that I'm missing, I need to have BY congruent to GL. Remember, the hypotenuse is across the triangle from my right angle. So I always look for that right angle, and the side across from it is your hypotenuse. For the very last one over here, we have our triangle BOX congruent to TRN, and we need to make sure it's by side angle side. So we're going to need two sides and one angle. BX is congruent to TN, and XO is congruent to NR. And I want you to write down what is the piece that you are missing to make sure that they are going to be congruent by side angle side. Since you need two sides and one angle, you are missing one angle. Now the angle has to be between the two sides. When we look at our picture, the only angle that's going to be between our two sides is angle X and angle N, and that is our missing piece. Now remember, just like in the last notes, if you need to, you can write down some different ideas or questions that you have for your teacher to ask your questions in class when you see your teacher next.